this photo was taken in the mid-1970s at my nonna's house in Matraville, South Sydney. It was the only house my grandparents ever owned since moving to Australia from Egypt in 1963. This year we're in the process of selling the home that has been in the family for 5 decades and witnessed countless and constant changes to the people who moved through it and to the place itself. This photo of my grandparents I included because I love it, but the photo shows a more intact bungalow across the road. What my nonna's house might have looked like if they didn't build a new brick facade, install aluminium windows, and pour out a wide concrete driveway. These kinds of domestic scale, self-styled additions or alterations are commonly found across Australia's cities and contribute to the kind of heterogeneous architectural landscape that Robin Boyd famously characterised in his 1960 book as the Australian ugliness. Fast forward to Earlwood in the 90s, where I grew up. Earlwood is a suburb that has seen widespread change to its built environment as a result of post-war migration. These changes to the character of the suburb have been subject to ongoing heritage debates in the area, spearheaded by Review, the residents' environmental vision for Undercliff and Earlwood Community Action Group. Even former Australian Prime Minister and former Earlwood resident John Howard weighed in on the issue, speaking nostalgically about the sameness that could once be found in the Middle Australia suburb he called home. The day he was elected as PM in '96, Fairfax published a story that read, "A jarring, unattractive and totally incomprehensible result of multiculturalism for Howard is the way the charming 1920s homes of his childhood were grievously disfigured with the help of aluminium windows and cement." John Howard's charming childhood home is now the Earlwood KFC. While the diverse landscapes of suburbs like Earlwood, Marrickville, Campsie and Bankstown in Sydney or Coburg and Footscray in Melbourne might be incomprehensible to the likes of Boyd and Howard, to the people who built these homes and their families, they have meaning and value. But they are also subject to constant change, sales, facelifts, renovations and demolition, especially in the current property boom climate, where the latest housing cycle is seeing high-density developments, multi-dwellings and massive demographic shifts. So against this backdrop of urban development, what strategies can artists employ to draw attention to the important interplay of cultural, familial and personal value systems in vernacular architecture? And how does intergenerational dialogue inform these strategies? So the project idea I'm pitching today is highly sought after, an exhibition of new and recent work by a group of Australian artists interested in the idiosyncrasies of their local vernacular architectures. I'm interested in tracing a range of cultural influences on Australian suburban homes across and between their gardens, facades and interiors. Like Sydney artist Ben Tarakis' sculptural installation, Shrine for Dionysus with Phanta Cantheros, a very local and personal homage to the Greek god of fertility and wine, constructing a kind of ritual object out of functional, everyday materials. From these kinds of garden embellishments to experiments with common building materials like concrete and plaster in Tariq Alip's hand-carved sculptures and reliefs, the area of investigation for this project is those self-built, domestic-scale micro-architectures and objects that challenge conventional notions of heritage, status and value. The exhibition's working title, highly sought after, borrows from real estate speak, with property listings highlighting the sought-after locations of ideally situated houses only moments away from parks, cafes, school and transport, when the house styles themselves don't fit neatly into established market categories. Importantly, the project will engage artists like Brisbane-born, Sydney-based Athena Thebus, interested in revisiting their own domestic lineages. In Athena's case, reminiscing on the middle-class banality of her childhood home and its faux decadent interior furnishings in the form of marble-painted columns. Once sources of embarrassment for the artist, her recent installation work re-examines these aesthetics in relation to queer desire and futures. In Melbourne, artist Jessie Scott has extensively documented the facades of homes and shopfronts in her suburb of Coburg in Melbourne's north. This collection of photographs taken on 35mm film, not this photo, the next. We can probably just wait that one out. Or I could keep going. This collection of photographs taken on 35mm film informs her recent video and installation works, moving image and 3D archives that acknowledge the quiet pride of these facades in the face of urban development and gentrification. I'm going too fast for the slides, so I can just talk about these while I wait for the next ones. So Jessie's work is really interesting, and it kind of happened by accident when she had her baby and was pushing the stroller around the suburb to put the baby to sleep. She was sort of drawn to these architectures that sometimes you would miss or I guess not value as part of your everyday path. But when you take a regular route around the suburb, then you kind of appreciate their special features. So outside of the gallery context, Sydney-based Italian artist Diego Bonetto's socially engaged projects foster a culturally aware interpretation of the landscape. He is well known for his wild stories, walks and workshops, where he leads groups on foraging expeditions to find edible weeds. Bonetto's model of moving through the landscape with audiences and collaboratively sharing knowledge along the way has the potential to be shaped into a kind of suburban gardens walking tour in areas like Elwood and Marrickville or other suburbs in your respective cities, engaging local residents to host the tour group at each stop to talk about what about their homes they most value. So this project is an exercise in re-evaluating what constitutes Australian architectural and cultural heritage through contemporary art. The relationship that exists between me as curator, the artists' collaborators and their families is another important dynamic that might inform the direction of the project, as it establishes a framework for the participants to consider how we inherit and interpret our cultural lineages and the importance of intergenerational dialogue in facilitating this transfer of knowledge and values. I'm done. Thank you.